going to win?
Mohamed Patel wins here.
Other than Rd.6. Oh, he's done it! Look at these two go! He's going to do it! His first victory! The World Championship is done. What a race it's been!
Good afternoon, and welcome to Belgium for round 6 of the Formula SimRacing Pro Championship from the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit. 2 weeks ago, Royal Blue locked out the top 4 positions at Circuit de la Sarthe, with Matthew Williams triumphing after returning from his year-long sabbatical, but it was his teammate Jukka-Pekka Laulu who took the championship lead with 2nd place ahead of Cosmo Pasciuto. But after a strong start to the season, Cas Rietveld found himself crashing out after contact with Williams, meaning he is now 12 points adrift of Laulu. My name is Edward Hunter. Myself and broadcast director Felix van Delft will take you through qualifying and 35 laps of racing action from one of the most challenging and unique circuits that our calendar has to offer. We're joined, of course, by our broadcasting partner VCO, alongside our sponsors Mesita eSports Clothing, SimLab, and 3D Wrap, who will, of course, be supplying prizes to our world champions at the end of the season. And if you are interested and want to see what some of those prizes look like, here's a video by 3D Wrap themselves. We'll be back on the other side for qualifying. Here we go then, qualifying about to begin here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and it's going to be a very closely fought contest to decide who starts the race from pole position. Alongside me, of course, is Felix van Delft, who will be helping out with the broadcast and helping me commentate in the comms box as we watch Jukka-Pekka Laulu beginning in the middle of his first lap, I believe.
Yep.
And what can we expect here from these first runs from the pro field, Felix?
Well, obviously, it's quite a long track, so they have to get a move on a little bit to try and get those 3 flying laps in. But I'm sure everybody will manage to do that unless they have some issues. But yeah, Laulu, quickest in practice. Let's see if he can convert that in qualifying, especially in this first banker lap that he sets.
Yeah, and he'll certainly want to increase that championship lead if he can by getting a good finish in the race. Here we go through the bus stop. He just about gets it hooked up. I do think he went really twitchy through the exit of the Fania chicane there, the Piff Path. Here we go towards the line. And Laulu goes 4th then behind Van Vukas, Williams, Mancini and Rietveld. Here comes Thomas Vash, who sets a purple middle sector and 3rd fastest time as he gets a little drift after crossing the line and getting heavy on the brakes there. So impressive lap there by Vash. And there's one of the Netrex cars. Rietveld, the best of those, with Van den Niet not far behind either. But like the Academy field, we're seeing the top 10 within half a second here. So it's all very, very close and competitive. It's small, tiny little margins as we see sparks shooting out the back of Stephen Michael's Grand Effect car. The Grand Effect car very close to the ground as it happens, with its titanium skid blocks on the bottom of this car. Michael's setting a few personal best sectors as he powers towards the line. And where is this going to put him? It puts him 19th. Oh no, 5th. Sorry, I read that too early. I was too presumptuous there. So apologies to Stephen Michael. But here's Musadis, who we saw in action in the Academy race. Fortunately, it didn't end particularly well for Stavros Musadis with a retirement. But here he is filling in for Chris Gitsov in the Valley, number 56. And doing a pretty good job so far on this lap. Personal best 28.5 is his first sector there. And through the middle sector, 44.7. So Musadis did get into the top 5 in the academy field. Let's see if he can match that here. The pro field, it might be a tougher ask. And he's stepping into this car sort of fairly late notice. But we've shown in the past that he can impress, even as an independent. And now with Valet, he seems to be going, on the whole, despite what happened in the academy race, from strength to strength. As here we go towards the line, he powers. And the Valet gets itself into 13th position, so mid-pack, 7 tenths down on Van Vukas, who's got the fastest time. But of course, Van Vukas, here we go as he crosses the line again. He has got a 4-place grid penalty hanging over him as he starts the lap and hooks it into the last source. A very impressive driver, Van Vukas. Let's not forget his amazing drive at Suzuka earlier in the season, where he nearly got on the podium, fought for victory until a very, very late collision. A little bit unfortunate with Danny Van Den Niet when they were disputing second place. But Van Vukas surprised everyone by almost getting himself into that fight for victory. And here he is once again impressing for Grand Effect and outpacing Matthew Williams, who of course won last time out at Le Mans. And Cat Panizio sets the purple first sector in the number 42. That would, of course, be the Super Venturi. So Nizio, bringing that out of nowhere, must have got a very, very good run out of La Source and down through the Kemmel Straight. As Van Vukas goes as wide as he can through Pujon. We're just about staying on track. So this is an understeery car we're on board with. But Van Vukas getting the best out of it. 28.4 in the first sector. Wide again a little bit through the exit of the Piff Paff Fania chicane. Now through Paul Frere, he powers. Purple in the middle sector, so we're right to stay on board with Van Vukas because he is setting the timing screens alight then. 44.0 through sector 2, and it's all the way through Blanchimont. He goes up in 7th gear, and he's approaching the bus stop now. Got to make sure he spots his braking point. Powers down through the gears, hits his apex, doesn't get too far along the curb, and now make sure you don't wheel spin too much as he powers towards the line. Van Vukas gets it perfect, and this is going to be quite a time indeed. Are we going to break into the 141s? We do indeed. 141.7 for Kostas Van Vukas. And it's just as well that he's on provisional pole because he needs to get as high up the grid as he can with that 4-place penalty because it's Mancini at the moment who may actually start from the front of the grid and inherit that pole position. Although he's 3 tenths down on Van Vukas.
Yeah, quite a substantial gap considering everything between Van Vukas and Mancini there. Over 3 tenths, and the rest of the field is basically within half a second down to Pasciuto in 13th. So, very good job by Van Vukas there. Unfortunate for him, of course, that he has that penalty hanging above his head.
It's because of Le Mans, of course. He basically took out one of the other cars. I think it might be one of the Netrex cars that he collided with, although I can't remember which one, given that I wasn't commentating or watching at the time. But Harry Smith sets 15th fastest lap, as we were just talking there. And it looks like Netrex with Rietveld, second in the championship, being shuffled down to 7th. So Netrex really need to get a car towards the top 5, and it's looking at very, very congested, really second down to about 9th or 10th. It's like 2 or 3 tenths, really, between them. So that's very, very small margins, like I was saying, as Chatsapantelis sets a personal best first sector and is going through Piff Paff chicane. Very well hooked up, but not carrying a huge amount of speed, though. Let's see what Chatsapantelis can make of this as he goes towards Sector 2. Ooh, 44.9. This is looking sort of about 10th or 11th he's sort of aiming for. As we see, actually in 11th for the moment, it's Lianos, who we also saw in action in the Academy race, stepping up in the Grand Effect. Here we go, towards bus stop then, so it needs to be a good finish to the lap for Chatsapantelis. George Chatsapantelis finally exits. A little bit of a twitch on, but not too bad. And he comes towards the line now. And it's going to be good enough for 19th position then, so he doesn't improve. It was a slow final sector. Here's Ampatsidis. Getting it very wrong on the exit, and the car falls to pieces as he crunches into the wall on the outside of Lecum. That was, I think I remember Sergio Perez doing that during the race that never was last year. And here's Mancini then on an attempt to snatch actual pole rather than just his de facto pole, which effectively he's in at the moment. So, but certainly And this seems to be the case, isn't it? Even if someone's got a penalty ahead of you, it's always a little bit of pride at stake because you want to prove with the race coming up that you've got the pace to beat them without having to benefit from a penalty. Oh, it's Mancini. Oh, gets it way too much on the power on exit. And he doesn't. He has a bad time at the exit of Lacombe as well. As we look at Rash just powering through just in the aftermath as Barbukov sets a purple first sector in the royal blue. And Stoyan Barbukov hoping to hook the rest of the lap up as Thomas Vash still in the top 5, which would be great for his RSR team. We've seen a couple of times Vash Suzuka comes to mind, where Vash was also running quite high up and then unfortunately spun out quite early on in the race. But he's certainly a very, very tidy driver and able to, on occasion, really pull out surprises. Matthew Williams sets a purple middle sector, so Williams on something of a flyer now too, as Van Vukas sets a personal best in the middle as well. But Vash continues on, goes through Blanchimont, and now gets it lined up for the bus stop. It's all about these final 2 corners then, as he gets it tucked in, and just has a little twitch in the middle and on the exit again, so this might not be enough for Vash to overcome Mirko Mancini for 4th position. Here we go. He actually gets up to 3rd. I'm completely mistaken on that. Only 2 temps away from Van Vukas, so the field is closing in, but quali is over. And Van Vukas sets the fastest time, but it's Williams who will start from pole position then.
Yeah, he just about got it there at the end.
Yes, so Van Vukas on a 1:41.761. That's the pole time, but the time good enough to start from pole will be set by Matthew Williams, 1:41.8, just ahead of Thomas Vash for RSR, who will start 2nd just on the front row alongside him. Then it's Stephen Michaels who will line up 3rd, just ahead of Van Vukas, his sister car, in the other ground effect. Then it is Mancini will stay 5th, ahead of Victor Ivanov, Kevin Morville 7th, Giannis Lianos in 8th in his little ground effect car. Then Cas Rietveld will be 9th, and Stavros Mizadis will round out the top 10 for Valet eSports. So some impressive performance there from the substitute academy drivers, it must be said. But we're going to be having our attention on Williams and Vash at the front, that's for sure, when the race gets going in a couple of minutes' time. And any surprises there for you, Felix?
Michaels, I think, good qualifying for him in 4th. He's been a bit up and down. But
yeah, Michaels' results this season have not been his best result 9th in Malaysia, I believe.
Yep.
But apart from that, a 10th place in Japan, and he had to miss the last round in France. So yeah, Stephen Michaels, good to see the American starting in 3rd position. And of course, he's ahead of. It'll be interesting to see if him and Van Vukas work together in the opening stint, especially whether Michaels might give Van Vukas a tow on the first lap unless Van Vukas can jump him. We saw in the academy exactly how crazy things can get at the start, especially with Peter Van having that huge accident. So I think they'll be learning the lessons from that. I imagine we won't be seeing people tucking in right behind as they get into Eau Rouge and Radion. Because we know you can lose control so easily at the top of the hill. But these guys are professionals, that's why it's called the Pro Championship. And I'm sure they'll be very, very well behaved. And if they're not, then it'll be certainly more exciting if they aren't.
Definitely. I mean, strategy is going to be a thing as well.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying in this longer race, doesn't it? We could see definitely going to be at least 2 stops, possibly 3. I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in Academy 1 stop was effectively, in practice, about as fast as a 2-stop, but a 2-stop could have won if it wasn't for a bit for the guy on the 2-stop to be held up a little bit. But yeah, so here we're gonna at least see a 2-stop, maybe a 3-stop, I would say, or maybe we're gonna see a hard tire appear somewhere instead of only a soft and a medium, because with this newer update that was brought out for this Formula Pro car that we're using this year in the Formula SimRacing Championships, the tires, the wear and the grip levels have been basically brought together a little bit more, as far as I know. So compared to what it was in the previous races, the hard tire would be a little bit better compared to the soft tire. So maybe some guys will be trying to use it a bit more, Or maybe not. We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to see, because of course you have to really take the pain on the hard tire, especially at the beginning of a stint, not being as quick as those around you. But it does tend to pay off as the race goes on, of course. And somebody in the chat is saying, stop the camera work. You're cursing every driver you're going on board with now. So it's always the way with the commentary. And Matthews Harvig says, let's go, El Presidente. So I'm not sure who that's in reference to.
It's Cameron, but he's not arriving.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we don't get to make the jokes that the regular commentators get to make, do we? About Cameron crashing out. And I tend to be more supportive of Cameron. So at least it can't go any worse for him today.
Yeah, not starting. At least you can't crash then.
Yeah, certainly. He gets to sit back and enjoy the carnage with the rest of us. But warm-up ending now, and the grid about to form up. And it will be very, very exciting to see what happens. Can Matthew Williams make it 2 in a row? Can Thomas Vash? Thomas Vash taken a win in a Pro Series before? I don't believe he has. Certainly not this season. Thomas Vash's best finish is 8th in Malaysia. So, he failed to start in Le Mans as well. So he definitely needs to bounce back after a couple of difficult races. Does Thomas Vash? This could be exactly the place to do it, but he's got 2 very, very quick ground effect cars behind him.
Yeah, as we are getting ready for the grid now.
Indeed. So, go through the order then. It is going to be Matthew Williams starting on pole for Royal Blue Racing, ahead of Thomas Vash in the RSR. Then it's Stephen Michaels 3rd, ahead of Mirko Mancini 4th. So I did actually get the penalty wrong. It's 4 places, not 3. There's Kostas Van Vukas. He will start 5th, ahead of Victor Ivanov for NetRex, who of course won at Suzuka. Kevin Morv will start 7th for Super Venturi. Jenny Lianos will start 8th. Cas Rietveld will start 9th, ahead of Stavros Musadis. Then is Danny Van Den Eaton 11th, ahead of Jukka-Pekka Lailu, our championship leader, starting all the way down in 12th. Then in 13th position, it's Vasily Ampatsidis, ahead of Stoyan Barbakov. Then Kakpa Nizio in 15th, ahead of Cosmo Pasquiuto in 16th. Harry Smith will start the race from 17th position, ahead of Rasmus Andreasen. Then is George Chatsapentelis starting 19th, ahead of Patrick Hanko in the Royal Blue. And bringing up the rear, it's Matthew Tucson in the ground effect number 99. So there's your grid then, and as you predicted, a mix of tyre strategies with many of the top 10 going for the hard tyre.
It's updated yet, to be honest.
Well, on RaceView, I'm seeing Williams, Vash, Ivanov, and Rietveld on the hard tyre, and everyone else looks like Michaels, Mancini, Van Vukas, Morval, Lianos, and Musadis on the softs. So I imagine that's probably a more accurate picture then. But oh, actually, yeah, it's still changing a little bit because I saw Vash randomly switch to the hard tyres there. But I would be very impressed to see any of the back markers go for the hards, how long they can get them to last, because that could really play in strategically. We saw in Suzuka especially that NetRex were able to snatch away victory just by running longer and doing 1 stop less than Royal Blue. And those are really the 2 big teams in this championship, it seems. It's NetRex and Royal Blue. And not that it's super important, but in the teams championship, 168 points for Royal Blue, 164 for NetRex. So that's how close it is. Only 4 points in it, despite them all having a multitude of drivers who've all scored big points this season. 2 wins for NetRex, 1 win for Royal Blue last time out at Le Mans. And Matthew Williams will be very, very determined to add to that. Having a great comeback so far, but at the pace of Van Vukas might just give him pause for thought before he speeds off into the distance, jolly from Thomas Vash. But Vash will be hoping to get right in the slipstream and give him a hard time, because this is going to be a big opportunity for Thomas Vash, of course, the Polish driver. Through the bus stop they go now. A smaller field in the academy, only 21 cars rather than the full 30. But certainly all of them at a very, very high level. The best of the best, apart from those in the World Championship, who are slightly better, of course. Although we have seen a few promotions this season, so let's not rule that out. As we see, Vash just catching up. And the 2 playing a little game of cat and mouse as they go towards the grid slot. But nothing untoward, really. Everyone slots in. Wacky waving inflatable tube man in the background, going a bit insane. So, party about to start in earnest at Spa-Francorchamps. So is that part of the update? I don't know. But anyway, sparks are certainly going to fly if the reaction we've seen so far is anything to go by. As Tucson just slots in the back, Pascuto dies for the pit lane to change tyres. So has something happened to him? Perhaps some damage. But Williams has got his car pointed right to the inside. As the lights come on then, and they will go out. And we'll be racing at Spa-Francorchamps. And Williams holds on to the lead, but Vash has got Michaels alongside him on the inside. And Stephen Michaels, has to think about it, but Vash challenging Williams on the outside now as Mancini lets the sparks fly immediately. And it is Van Vukas lining up behind Vash as Vash kind of go alongside Michaels as they go up for Eau Rouge. And Mancini overtakes Ivanov for 5th position. But Michaels is now right behind Williams as they go towards Lake Coombe. And Vash is defending from Van Vukas as well. So Grand Effect on the move. And here they go. Williams goes into the braking zone, and it seems that he is on the soft tyres, not the hards. So that's going to filter through in a second. There we go. But Michaels takes second from Vash then, and Van Vukas already up to 4th from 5th on the grid. So dramatic start there, Felix.
Definitely Van Vukas trying to already make up some way. Looking at the tyres now fully synced. First driver on those mediums, Ivanov and Rietveld.
Yeah, so another long first stint for Netrex then.
Yeah.
Here we go, through the Piff Path Fanier chicane. And the top 4 starting to make a little bit of a breakaway from Mirko Mancini. As Van Vukas gets right onto the back of Thomas Vash. And I have a feeling this could turn into a 4-horse race unless Netrex can work their way into this one. It depends what the pace of those mediums like. Stephen Michael already starting to use push to pass to put pressure upon Matthew Williams. Within 7/10 he is. So if he can do that on the next couple of laps, DRS is really going to start to come into effect. But here we go. He's not going to wait for the DRS. He's going to put pressure on Thomas Vash immediately. Thomas Vash, of course, RSR a one-car team. So Vash doesn't really get the same support from his teammates, really, because he doesn't have any. But the Grand Effect can effectively sort of sandwich Thomas Vash as he gets a little bit squirrely on the exit of La Source. And that could be the opportunity that Van Vukas needs. And I think Vash, realizing he could be vulnerable, uses a bit of push to pass on the hill down into Eau Rouge and Radion into Sparks, or kicking up from the back of the RSR car. But Van Vukas, well in the slipstream, tucks out to the left and goes the long way around as Williams attempts to break the toe up ahead with Michaels in pursuit. But now it's Grand Effect second and third, as always that the Super Venturi splitting the Netrex cars. Morval ahead of Rietveld, and that's not good for the man second in the championship. He got up to 8th place on the first lap, but to 7th rather, and now down to 8th. So Super Venturi and Netrex really fighting each other here for the top 6. And they're having their race of their own on the mediums. But we'll have to see if that's the tire to be on, or if it's better to sprint away in this first stint on the soft. And wow, look at the sparks fly through Pujon on the underside of Rietveld's car. That's how low they're all running, of course. And the titanium skid plate really visible here at this wonderful high-speed Spa-Francorchamps circuit. And Williams continuing to slightly pull away in the lead, by the way, from Michaels, as he sets a purple middle sector, but Van Vukas was the fastest in the first sector on lap 2. Oh, big crash! And that's Harry Smith. The front and rear wings have well and truly parted company on the exit of Fanier, and the car crabbing horribly as well. I think that might be him out of the race, as Barbukov has also hit trouble on the first lap too. So what happened to Harry Smith? Running down in 20th position. He's right behind the burst car. And he just goes a bit wide. And does he hit Barbukov rejoining? Oh no, he hits that's Tucson, the yellow.
No?
It's Matt Tucson, yes. So Tucson, who started at the back already, having his front ring knocked off through no fault of his own, really. And Harry Smith having to make the walk of shame back to the pits. As here we go, Kak Benizio challenging Casper Rietveld, and he's got a shower of sparks from the 2 cars in front of him as they go up onto the Kemmel Straight. And he pulls out to the left, but has Nizio got the run? He picks up a little bit of slipstream from Van der Neet ahead of him. And there we go. Another Super Venturi splits the Netrex cars. Nizio gets up to 9th now, and now he's all over Van der Neet. He's just getting very, very heated behind. That's Musadis and Patsidis and Lianos all squabbling over 11th place. And we've still got Lianos trying to go around the inside through into no-name corner, and he's done it. There we go. Good move by Gianni Lianos to stick his foot in. We saw him finish runner-up in Academy, and he's making progress here. So it's a ground effect on the move once more in the lower positions. Quite a lot of drama there, Felix. I'm not sure where to look, really, as Vash makes a little mistake on the exit of Piff Paff, but gets going through Paul Frere, and Van Vukas, because he's stuck behind Vash, he's starting to lose a little bit of touch with Michaels and Williams, isn't he? And that could really play into the hands of Royal Blue and Michaels, because Royal Blue especially, they really want Michaels to just Williams to pull away up front, and Michaels to sort of burn his tyres out trying to chase him. So Michaels are playing it quite smart so far, and Vash, I think, just trying to hold on to that podium at the moment. And Vukas and Mancini getting DRS off of Vash, so yeah, train definitely forming behind the RSR driver, although he did set the purple first sector on that first lap, but Mancini sets the purple final sector as well, so definitely everyone pushing in this early phase of the race to make sure the leaders don't escape. And Michaels once again gets into the slipstream, 6/10 behind Williams, using the DRS, I think. Or did he not get DRS? Actually, here comes Mercedes, around the outside of Rietveld. Both have the DRS. Mercedes has got a slightly better run. Will he pull ahead into Lekum? There we go. Rietveld has the slot in behind. So the champion, second place man in the championship, being shuffled down the pack really on his mediums by Mercedes on his soft tyres. He gets back into the top 10, and now Lianos wants a piece of Rietveld too. And here's Mancini. He's actually caught up a bit to Van Vukas, so Royal Blue are sort of sandwiching the two ground effect cars and the RSR machine. So in terms of the strategy, all of them on the soft tyres, though, with Ivanov, the lead runner, on the mediums. He's sort of made a break from Morville. So I think Victor Ivanov, hoping his strategy will pay out, provided the three in front of him don't break away too much. Michael's doing very, very well, actually, to keep up with Matthew Williams. To stay within a second. But he keeps just falling out of DRS range, I think. And that's why we don't see him trying to make a move into Lekum down the Kemmel Straight. As, I think Lianos has passed Rietveld for 10th. So, and we see Mercedes actually dropping all the way down. So there's been some kind of a collision there as well. We've just seen Mercedes get up to 10th. And now, just like the Academy race, we're seeing the valet driver hit trouble. Maybe we can pull up a replay soon, if that's possible. But, yeah, Lianos up to 10th now. And here's what happened to Mercedes as he's down to 8th here. This is him behind Nizio, running in 10th position. A horrible flat spot on that inside front tyre. He just lost it at no-name corner and into the wall. And he's so lucky the front wing stayed on there. I think he's just about kept it on, or is it flown off?
I think it's still on.
Oh, yeah, so there we go. The valet. They make that car out of tough stuff there as Van Vukas overtakes Vash for third position with a purple. So he got the run with DRS while we were watching that replay. Apologies for that. But there we go. Third place changes hands, and Thomas Vash gets shuffled down and into the clutches of Mancini now. So Van Vukas free to unleash that pace. He's only about 3 seconds behind the lead now. And surely him and Michaels will work together, as I predicted earlier. But Vash, very, very disappointed to lose out at this early phase of the race. But he can still get a decent finish here, can still get top 4, top 5, potentially, if he plays his cards right. But he needs to make sure he gets the strategy right, and that's going to be the big determining factor between how this race pans out. We saw it in Academy, we're going to see it play out in Pro 2 on a grander scale, of course. Mancini gets his head down through Paul Frere and approaching Blanchimont. Gets into the slipstream of the RSR car. Is he going to make a move and spread the pain for RSR? Vash uses push to pass. Morville using push to pass as well to try and put pressure on Ivanov, but he's a few seconds behind him. Here comes the DRS train into effect then. As Van Vukas not really going to pick up DRS from the two cars ahead, but needs to make sure that Vash doesn't counter-attack here, and Vash has a poor exit from La Source. So Mancini will have another run at him. And Ivanov not too far behind this either. So even on the mediums, he could still play himself in. Lovely shot at the bottom of the hill at Eau Rouge there. And Vash using push to pass. And the DRS train coming. So Mancini can't really take full advantage because Vash is still just picking up DRS from Van Vukas ahead of him. But don't have to really challenge Van Vukas though. And side by side, here comes Lianos on Kakpa Nizio. Nizio goes all the way around the outside of Lianos to hold on to 9th position. A good defense from the Super Venturi driver on his mediums. Lianos making good use of the softs at this phase of the race. In place for Songs of Forensic. Oh, up the inside. That's a brave move through the long right hand of the never-ending corner, they call it. But unfortunately, it almost ended in disaster there for Gianni Lianos. With a very, very ambitious move up the inside, wasn't that, Felix?
Yeah, a bit too ambitious in my opinion. That's really not a corner where you...
Nizio really struggling though, because there's a huge train behind him now too. We see Lalu, our championship leader, down in 12th. And he can see Amphatsidis, the second place man championship. Where is Rivell? Rivell dropped to 18th, of course, yes, because I think he got caught up in the Musadis crash somehow. So he is ahead of his big main rival in the championship. But down in 12th will not be where he wants to be. Score a few more points here, and 2 of his teammates up ahead showing what can be done. As here we go, Nizio under pressure from Lianos again. Lianos up the inside into the bus stop, and makes contact, hits the side of Gianni Lianos. And they're still bumping on the exit, and could that let Ampatsidis pass the both of them? It does. Ampatsidis up to 9th. Brilliant opportunism there. Let the 2 fight ahead of him and take advantage. But, there we go. Nizio just about holds off Lianos then, going around the outside at La Source. But the 3 right together. But Ampatsidis has made a break for it. And Van Vukas continuing. He's actually started to fall back a little bit from Williams. Still about 3 seconds behind Michaels, though. And Vash still picking up DRS from the back of him. But this here, the battle for 9th, is the main one going on at the moment. And here we go. Nizio trying to go all the way around the outside of Ampatsidis. And has to go off track. They couldn't quite complete the move. The Super Venturi has to slot back in behind. And Lianos, I think he sensed blood there, but couldn't quite take advantage. Nizio trying to go all the way around the outside. But on the mediums, he doesn't quite have the grip that the softs do at this phase of the race. And I think Lianos may have another go at him before this stint is out. 7 of 35, of course. So we're sort of getting to the crossover point where the softs will start to fade a little bit and the mediums will begin to come into their own. So I think Nizio's really just trying to hold on until that happens. Van der Neet ahead, doing quite well. I think Ivanov has come a cropper somewhere because he's dropped down to 15th. Have there been some pit stops that I've missed, Felix?
Looks like Ivanov did a pit stop indeed, and Rietveld as well. So those 2 Netrex drivers.
So Netrex, far from running long, they've decided to switch to the softs quite early then. So they've realised they need to switch strategies. Nizio getting very defensive as they approach Blanchimont. And Lianos tucks in. Will he go for the inside again? No, he actually backs out, but still very, very close to the rear tyres of the Super Venturi. Yeah, the medium's not decided to be on. Mancini in the pits now. So he bails out from 5th position for Royal Blue. It'll be interesting to see what Mancini and Hanko do, because I think they were both... Mancini was on the mediums, but Hanko was on the softs. But clearly, Hanko has used up his soft tyres and needs a new set to put on. Bash still picking up DRS from the back of Van Vukas up ahead. But this train, very, very entertaining squabble for the 7th position. And here we go, Nizio under attack from Lianos. Lianos goes all the way around the outside, approaching Lecum. They both pick up DRS, of course, and Lianos staying side by side and has to bail out there. That was very, very brave. Once again, and Nizio loses it completely of Lecum. How on earth did Andreasen and Lalu avoid him there? I will never know, but that was a very, very scary moment. And Ivanov slips through too. So there we go, the mediums not providing enough grip really for Nizio to hold on to that one. And a dramatic, dramatic moment there. Very lucky he didn't collect anyone. I'm amazed. But anyway, lap 8 then. Have you noticed anything interesting, Felix, while I've been watching those engrossing battles?
Well, of course, Ivanov and Rietveld doing their stop very early on and already making up some ground. We'll be running into the traffic of Andreasen and Lalu right now to, well, probably hold them up a little bit on their fresh soft tires compared to their older ones. I don't know, I guess for them this is going to be a 3-stop, surely, because I don't see how they will do this on one.
Well, Netrex are trying to do what we saw Iris do in the, and also Liam Howard, also of Netrex, in the Academy race, where they did the extra stop compared to everyone else, because it feels like the drivers around them are definitely settling in for a 2-stop. And because they got that medium tyre stint out of the way, NetRx can now just pile on softs at every stop and be as fast as they want to be. So Ivanov needs to make up ground, though, to get this strategy to work. He's behind Andreasen, who has not stopped yet, as I think Lalu is challenging Lianos as well, behind Ampatzidis. And he's got DRS as well up ahead of this, but Ivanov well tucked in behind the burst car. Can he get past Rasmus Andreasen before they reach Lekum? Yes, he can. And he's up into the top 10 then, back where Ivanov had hoped to be. But it looks like Lalu was able to pass and overcome Lianos as well up ahead of them. So while they squabble ahead, they fall into the clutches of the fresh-tired NetRx of Ivanov. Up ahead, though, Michael's starting to fall back 2 seconds behind Williams, but maintaining the 3-second gap to his teammate Van Vukas, of course, as Van Vukas pulls out 2 seconds on Vash in turn. And Lalu sets purple first sector, surprisingly, but it's Ivanov who's setting the fastest lap of the race right now, 1:45.2, almost a whole second faster than Williams, setting the pace in the lead. And rapidly catching up to the back of Lianos too. So I think next lap we could see Ivanov already putting a challenge to the ground effect driver. And I have to say, very impressed by Ivanov this season, because he's shown a little bit of a habit to just pick up results. He did have to miss Malaysia, of course, but podium in San Marino, first place in Japan, unlucky to retire, of course, in at Le Mans. In comes Lalu into the pits, I think.
Yeah, more people coming into the pits. Lalu,
yes, Williams from the lead and Van Vukas too, yes. So it's all very, very busy in there. And this actually allows Ivanov to sort of undercut them all effectively. Oh, Lalu is released there behind his teammate Williams, I think. And it's all getting very, very chaotic. But I think the leaders have decided to bail onto the mediums. Yes, so actually Williams has come out ahead of Ivanov. And it's, here we go. Ivanov takes Lianos for what is now 6th position. And Lianos doesn't really have much to fight that one with. And he's had his own adventures today, so he decides not to fight the NetRx too hard there. As Ivanov now free to chase after Williams, who switched to the mediums. Can Royal Blue get the mediums to work? That's the big question here, because if they can't, then Ivanov will really be a big threat to them. But it felt like Williams was responding to the pace of Ivanov with that pit stop. But Stephen Michaels now takes the lead. And there was a comment by Anthony Nickpon who says, "The world will end once Stephen wins." So I'm not sure we're going to quite... I don't know really what to say to that, but I somehow... I'm a bit skeptical that the world will end, but I'm sure Stephen Michaels, his world will begin rather than end with that win, if he's able to pull it off. But Thomas Vash certainly will keep him fairly honest, just under 4 seconds behind. And here comes Van der Niet on these mediums. He's decided to stick with them, and round the outside of Kevin Morville he goes. So the softs of Morville's starting to wear, and into the pit lane comes the Super Venturi. So he will drop down behind a lot of the lead pack then. So Danny Van der Niet, Vash has come in as well. So it is Michaels leading Van der Niet. So Michaels the last one to stop then. He's going longest on his soft tyres. But Van der Niet effectively in the lead from Williams, with Van der Niet having not stopped on the mediums yet. And will Van der Niet hold up Williams to help Viktor Ivanov then, his teammate at NetRx? Van der Niet uses his push to pass, so yes, I think the answer to that is yes, he will try and hold him up. But here we go, Williams gains ground. Will he tuck out at the last minute into Lekum? Of course he will. In he dives, and up he goes to 2nd position, which will surely become 1st when Stephen Michaels pits. So Michael Williams having to respond and having to make moves to keep the NetRx drivers behind him. Do you think it's the right strategy? Because it seems to be working out so far for the Royal Blue driver.
So far, yeah, it does. Obviously, his tires will be a bit slower in general than the softs, but the softs that Ivanov has are a bit older, so I guess...
But the thing is, Ivanov can keep going on the soft tires. He doesn't have to worry as much. He's worried a little bit because he doesn't want to end up doing 4 stops instead of 3. But he definitely... and with Danny Van der Niet now, he can... Once Ivanov catches up to the back of him, they can easily do a swap for position and let Ivanov chase after Williams. Because But like you say, the softs will be a bit older, so he needs to make sure that once they stop doing peak performance, Ivanov is not doing too many laps where he's just on old soft tyres and losing time. That's the real key here. Netrix think it's worth the risk as Michael comes into the pits. So Matthew Williams retakes the lead at Spa then, and he's got 2 Netrixes in between him and Van Vuka. So Michaels will get undercut here by his teammate. And Vash is fighting Mancini, actually, for what will become 5th position, I believe. There we go. Michael switches to the mediums. And comes out just ahead of Mirko Mancini. He's not lost too much here, because Ivanov is sort of on this different strategy. And he's got a bit of a gap to Van Vukas, though. It'll be interesting to see if Ivanov has used the best life as Williams sets the fastest lap of the race, actually, on that last lap, 1:45.2. And Ivanov 1:45.7. So the softs are just starting, and they're a little bit past their best compared to what Williams is able to get out of the mediums. But if he can keep Van Vukas behind, then maybe he can make this extra stop strategy work. Seems that Rietveld is trying the same, and he's stuck down in 8th behind Nizio still. So all mixed up then, as all the teams respond to each other's strategies. And it's game theory in action, really. They're all responding to one another, trying to make sure they can take advantage. Chatsapantelis, by the way, has dropped to the very back of the field. I believe he's hit trouble, as has Pasquiuto, which is a big shame for the man. I believe Pasquiuto was, yes, he was 3rd in the championship going into this race. So something misfortune befell him while we were watching all those pit stops. And that's a big shame for Royal Blue, but they're still leading with Matthews, which is what they will be focusing on. And Mancini not far behind in 5th, 4th in the championship, of course. So Matthew Williams extends his lead over Victor Ivanov yet further. And here we go. Michaels on fresh mediums, trailing Van Vukas. Now, what will ground effect do here then, Felix? Because surely Van Vukas, we saw in qualifying, has got the slightly better pace, but Michaels has got the fresher tyres now. And Michaels will get right into the slipstream with the DRS. Do you think they'll just race each other and see how it plans out?
I think so. But I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, there we go. Looks like Van der Neet in a battle with Lalu as well for 10th. And here comes Michaels up the inside. And the teammates swap positions then. Didn't look like Van Vukas was going to defend that one on the inside at all. So it's basically a case of keep in front if you can, but don't hold him up. So there we go. Michaels back up to 3rd then. And now Ivanov will be a little bit worried because his tyres are, let's have a look, 6 laps old. Michaels has only got 1 lap old tyres, so yeah, those 5 laps over a 35-lap race, they make a big, big difference. Williams' tyres only 3 laps old as well. So Michaels is in a race with Williams as far as he's concerned. So he's not going to really, he thinks that Ivanov is really just someone he has to clear. He will sort of drop back when he stops later. Michael sets the fastest first sector of anyone, 28.6. As Ampat Zidis sets fastest lap, 1:45.229. As he chases Kevin Morville for 8th. But here we go then. Pressure upon Ivanov. Needs to get this strategy to work. But the soft tyres. He was 6 laps on the mediums, 6 laps on the softs. He needs to get the softs to last to get his strategy to work, doesn't he? Because if he's doing 6 laps every time, every 36-lap race, that's definitely going to be a 4-stopper. But here comes Morville behind Cas Rietveld. The mediums really putting pressure. Yeah, Rietveld has to come in then. So I wonder if Netrex are abandoning the strategy with Rietveld then and going on back onto the mediums. Because he clearly, that was a very short stint on the softs for Cas Rietveld. Yeah, 7 laps, I think. So, yeah. It really is a case of once they get in there, once they get into the race, they're realizing how limited on tyre life they really are and having to change strategy accordingly. In the pro race, with it being 35 laps, you can sort of adjust and potentially save your race a little bit if you're on the right tyres in the final stint. But as long as you're not, too far behind. As here we go, another move around the outside by Van der Neet on Morville. Was that Morville trying to attack Ampat Zidis? Sorry. It was, yes. I apologise. But it is Van der Neet right behind, holding off Lalu for 9th. Here we go, Jukapeka Lalu. our erstwhile championship leader, making steady progress on the mediums. Van der Neet on slightly older softs. Now really under pressure, and it really feels like NetRex, of all the teams, they're always the ones to roll the dice, aren't they? Always trying a different strategy, see if they can get it to work. Michael sets a really impressive lap, 1:44.7. The captain himself and Williams, 5 seconds now because he's ahead of Ivanov. So I think we might have missed that move there. Apologies. Certainly so much action going on, I don't really know where to look. Yeah, there we go. There's Mancini now, trailing Van Vukas by 2 seconds. And they're keeping Vash at bay on the mediums. But Michael's really flying right now. Yeah, oh, Rietveld is retired. So there you go, second place man in the championship, Cas Rietveld. The second race in a row, it's ended in retirement for him. And a race that was coming undone has ended prematurely. Oh, has he done exactly what Mercedes did? No. Okay, here we are, approaching Pujon. Number 5, NetRex, turns in on its...
Disconnect.
Oh, he got disconnected. That's so unlucky there. We saw at the abandoned race in Silverstone, Cas Rietveld went off on it, but here it was through no fault of his own that his race ended. And he joins Pascuso and Barbikov in the 3 retirements. So that's a big, big shame for him because that's going to really affect his championship now. Especially if Royal Blue can score big today with Lalu in 10th though. And let's not forget Mancini in 5th. Here we go. Looks like Van der Neet is starting to close on Ampatzidis as well for 7th. But here is Ivanov keeping Michaels quite honest, surprisingly. And on 8 laps now on those soft tyres. So Ivanov is really the only one who's really able to get this soft tyre strategy to work. Or at least he's the only one who's stuck with it. Because the others seem to abandon quite quickly. I think Ampatzidis actually went onto another set of softs. He's now 20 seconds down. And he's keeping Van der Neet at bay. Yeah, Van der Neet did 11 laps on the medium and then switched to the soft, of course. But I don't think anyone inside the top 10 has made more than 1 stop so far.
No, so far everybody in the top 14 is on a 1 stop, and then obviously you have...
but here comes Ivanov to stop number 2. So yeah, there we go. His last lap was not great, to be honest. 1:46.4 compared to 45.9 by Van Vukas, 46.1 by Michaels, and 45.6 by Williams. But Michaels, his chase of Williams has slowed down a little bit. It's just about keeping it steady at 5 seconds as Ivanov is serviced and comes back out on another set of soft tyres. So he's just going to keep putting on the softs, and he's got enough sets to do this. As there we go. There goes his teammate Van der Neet. And looks like Ampatzidis and Van der Neet have cleared him then. But of course, Ivanov will get a lovely slipstream as he comes up the hill. If he can get up to speed in time, he will get DRS once he approaches the detection point. And here we go. But he's a little bit too far back to make anything of it. And Van der Neet is a bit too busy fighting with Ampatzidis. So NetRex, they will get on the radio here. So Ivanov is fighting for the podium. You need to clear the Moose. Let him through. Don't hold him up. Especially with Morville and Lalu not too far behind either. It's Vash that Ivanov really needs to catch quite quickly. And here's Van der Neet. And NetRex need to manage this very, very delicate situation. And Ivanov cuts to the inside. Almost has a think about going up the inside of Pujon, which is not really an overtaking spot unless you're being let through.
This is badly hurting Ivanov. We saw it in the academy race. If you just get held up for a little bit, it can cost you just about 2-3 seconds, and that can be the difference between winning and P3.
Yeah, Mancini using a push to pass to keep Vash at bay as well up ahead of this. And here we go. So they're waiting for Blanchimont, and now Ivanov will get the toe that he needs, and he's on push to pass as well. And just getting himself steadily closer. He might make a dive up the inside of the bus stop. And Van der Neet, he's been a great rear gunner at certain races this season, but he's not really helping. Actually goes up the inside of Ampatzidis there, but fails the move. And Ampatzidis goes a little wide on exit. So Van der Neet will try and cut to the outside. Will get DRS, as will Ivanov behind. Can he go sweep around the outside? Yes, he does. And I suggest that Ampatzidis doesn't fight Ivanov too hard on the outside. There we go. Ivanov through then. But Van der Neet was not especially helpful to him there.
Now, like I said, this is just hurting Ivanov massively, losing 2-3 seconds just that last lap.
But that's the problem with this strategy. You've really got to clear and make up ground quickly.
Yeah, obviously.
And here we go. Now, Danny Van der Neet lets Ivanov through into Lakum. And Ivanov with the slipstream and DRS makes it a fairly easy job this time. It was a bit closer, of course, and warmed up, having had a racing lap on those with soft tyres. But the gap to Thomas Vash now 10 seconds. As Vash is actually right behind Mancini. Sorry, I apologise for burping there. And Michaels, the lead though, very much the same as it was. 5 seconds between Williams and Michaels, with Van Vukas 2.4 behind Michaels, and Mancini 2 seconds behind Van Vukas. So we're just over halfway now through the race. And I'm not really sure that the strategy by Ivanov is going to pay out now. I think the best he can maybe hope for is to beat Mancini, but I think the way Van Vukas and Michaels are making progress, they're going to pull a bit too far away for him to catch, even if he's able to set amazing lap times on these softs. But here we go. He has set personal best first and second sectors now, that he's cleared his teammates. And he goes through the bus stop chicane. Now we have a look at the timing to see what happens. 1:44.4. So yeah, fastest lap of the race for Viktor Ivanov, unsurprisingly. And he takes a whole second out of Thomas Vash as Ampatsidis comes in now to be serviced. Put on a fresh set of boots. Vash again in the DRS of Mirko Mancini, but not quite able to mount an overtake. So Mancini doing a good job in defence. Vash doing well to keep himself just in the picture, but I think the podium is starting to look like a bit of a reach now for the RSR driver. But talking about up front, I'm surprised really that Williams has done such a good job to keep Michaels behind him. I thought Michaels would have closed to within maybe 3 or 4 seconds, but he's kept the gap fairly stable. Do you think Williams is focused on really just getting out of the undercut range of Michaels at this point? Because we saw how powerful that is, given it's such a long lap. So I think Ground Effect might try again to leave Michaels out longer, but they could try and pit Van Vukas first in this stint.
Yeah, they could. Obviously, we know Williams he's got the pace, and I think he's right now just managing, trying to make sure he doesn't use too much of his tires, but also obviously keeps the gap big enough that if Michael does decide to do an undercut...
Oh, a mistake there by Mancini as he goes all the way across the bus stop, and that's going to let Thomas Vash up the inside of him. So yeah, sorry there, Felix. That was very exciting. But yeah, there we go. Thomas Vash will pull away a little bit with the DRS, but a crucial mistake from Mirko Mancini in terms of the battle for the podium puts Thomas Vash back up to 4th. And the pole will be over the moon with that. That's Christmas come early. Several months early, in fact, at Spa-Francorchamps.
No snow yet.
No, certainly plenty of sparks though, almost like a Christmas show at the bottom of these cars. As Ampatsidis, having pit for medium, sets a purple middle sector. Ivanov sets another 44.5, just a tenth slower than his previous lap, as he closes to within 6 seconds of Mancini, having made that mistake. But Ivanov definitely still flying out there. Fastest man on track as Morval gets past Nizio. Nizio really struggling on the soft tyres now in the top 10. Just barely in the top 10, having done 6 laps on them. So we sort of had everyone on the mediums panicking and going to softs, it felt like. And then the guys on the softs panicking and going back to mediums, because now the mediums seem to have come into their own as the temperature's sort of gone up a little bit. We're at 29 degrees track temperature, 23 degrees ambient temperature. No sign of rain, of course. It's bright and sunny. So I don't imagine we'll be seeing any precipitation on the circuit. Rare for Spa. Usually expect a wet race somewhere or other, but we still got the World Championship to go, of course. And here comes Morval closing on Lalu. Pekka Lalu needs to focus on that championship lead then. Can't afford to make any silly mistakes and lose positions to the Super Venturi, especially with Van der Neat about 4 seconds up the road on the soft tyres. So it's really kind of a back and forth between Netrex, Royal Blue and Super Venturi in this lower points battle for 5th. And we go, Lalu looking a little bit vulnerable, to be honest. How long has he been on those tyres for? 9 laps. Morval also, who's pit at the same time, he's also been on the mediums 9 laps. But Van der Neet ahead of them has been on the softs 8 laps, so they'll be significantly worn then. And here is Tucson. Still gamely chugging along in 16th position. He's certainly cleared the 2 NetRX cars of Chatzipantelis and Harry Smith after their difficulties earlier. And certainly not fighting for the podium like some of his teammates are, but he isn't too far behind Hanko and Lianos, who are fighting over 14th. So, great to see Matt back in action, of course. Of course, Van Vukas started out in that car and has sort of switched over to the his own, sort of becoming a full-time pro driver since, of course, he started the season in Academy, won in Malaysia. But looks like his focus is now on the Pro Championship, as is ours, of course. So, back to the present then. Williams grows the gap ever so slightly to 6 seconds now. And with 15 laps remaining, it's hard to see him being beaten here. He's going to make it 2 wins in a row at this rate. And that could really help him play himself into the championship. We've seen consistency is so important here. Because Lalu hasn't won, but has got a couple of second places. And that's why he's leading at the moment. And we've seen Rietveld, he won't score anything today for the 2nd race in a row. And that's really going to drop him behind a lot of the Royal Blue drivers. And potentially some of the NetRX drivers as well. His teammates, of course. As Andreasen closes on Ampatsidis. Andreasen actually having a pretty decent run on the mediums. Ampatsidis has only been on them 2 laps though, so I'm surprised he's struggling as much as he is. Oh, both of them get a bit of a twitch on and wildly lay down some rubber at the exit of bus stop chicane. But I think there's a little bit of a warm-up period, isn't there, with these mediums? That they seem to be a little bit colder and don't provide as much grip. And then after a few laps, they suddenly come into an operating window where they're a really, really good tyre for like most of the stint. Would you agree with that, Felix?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I think both the medium and the soft, effectively what they have is the first lap is quite rapid on them. And then they drop off by about half a second to a second, and then they plateau for the rest of the stint. Obviously the fuel comes down in these cars, and then it starts to speed up a bit. So it's a bit, I think, of a mix between the car getting lighter because of the fuel, and obviously the tires dropping off in a non-linear way.
Yes, and Mancini has been on those mediums 13 laps now, with Ivanov only about a second behind him, and Mancini uses a bit of push to pass. So I think the Royal Blue driver could be coming into the pit soon for his 2nd stop, and that might trigger those around him to react to that. Especially if he goes on another set of mediums, he might be able to just squeeze it through to the end. But it depends, because he really needs to stretch his stint out to make sure he doesn't run out of tyres in the final couple of laps. So yeah, the strategy game. Everyone has to be on top of it. And in comes Mancini, as I predicted. There we go. He was just losing time hand over fist then, so that promotes Ivanov to 5th and Van der Neet up to 6th. Van der Neet, he's been on those softs 10 laps now. I think that's the longest anyone has managed. Ivanov managed 9 laps in the first stint. There is Van der Neet. About 5 seconds behind his teammate. But quite a distance ahead of Lalu in 7th. As Mancini gets going again in 9th on a set of softs, interestingly. So he's doing 2 sets of softs runs to the end, it would seem. Which you could do, let's see, 13 laps remaining. Yeah, you could get 7 laps either way. 7 laps, 6 laps, something like that, I assume is what Royal Blue are thinking of there.
Tucson is out of the race now.
Oh, that's a shame. I was talking about how well he was doing earlier at the back. So let's see what befell the yellow ground effect of Matt Tucson. In he comes through Stavilo, through Paul Frere corner. Or did he just get a bit wide? Oh, he just lost the rear and a heavy impact with the wall there. The front wing, Parts Company and Tucson, who was 18th and sort of struggling to keep up with Harry Smith and George Chatzipantelis. Oh, no, it was Hanko. He was fighting with Hanko, wasn't he? And that puts Chatzipantelis and Smith by him, of course. But here come Ivanov. This is Smith and Chatzipantelis, of course, having their own private little battle for 16th position. Smith well in DRS now. And keep a little eye on the gap between Van Vukas and Michaels up front because it's closed a little bit to 3.5 seconds. Van Vukas has been on his tyres 13 laps, as has Williams and Vash. Michaels only on 11 laps, so he's clearly getting a little bit longer in his stint, and that could really pay out. In fact, it was Michaels who actually got the softs to last longest, of course, 11 laps. It wasn't Van den Eet. But I think I wouldn't be surprised to see a huge rush into the pits on lap 24-25 as Williams, Michaels, Williams, Van Vukas, Vash, Van den Eet, and Ivanov, his tyres are starting to get a bit long in the tooth now. 7 laps on the softs as Mancini has already caught up to Morville now in the Super Venturi. And here we go. It should be a pretty easy overtake. He's got the RSM push to pass in full effect. And Morville does not defend the inside. And that's Royal Blue up to 8th. Will Lalu move aside for him? And Petsidis up the inside of Nizio. Just about gets that stopped in time for Leikum. So another good move then by Petsidis. Gets up into 10th position. Yeah, Nizio has sort of just been going backwards the whole race, it must be said, in the clutches of the others. I think he's really not been able to get much performance out of the softs. Yeah, because he's been on them 10 laps now. Really not played to his advantage too well. Vash, only about 2.9 behind Van Vukas. So he's still playing into it. It's because he cleared Mancini. Mancini made a mistake, allowed him to clear him, to be more precise. That's really allowed Vash to sort of slowly reel in Costas Van Vukas as Petsidis goes a little bit wide. Gustavolo and Paul Frette, as does Nizio behind him. And Van Vukas into the pit lane. So it's ground effect that pulled the trigger, and Vash and Ivanov following him in. So yeah, I did think Ivanov might have to make a stop now as well. So Williams, he's using push to pass. I think he's trying to come in this lap as well, because he's trying to pull a gap on Michaels behind him. 8 seconds now, as it's very, very busy in the pit lane now. Van Vukas, Vash, Ivanov, Lalu, Morville, all putting on some fresh tyres on the same lap. And there we go. Ivanov comes out just behind Thomas Vash on another set of soft tyres. So Vash on the mediums. Is this the right strategy then for RSR? I think Ivanov is going to be a bit faster in this stint, but surely Vash is not going to be able to get the mediums to the end of the race with... what's that, 11 laps left to go. It's going to be a big ask because we've seen the mediums sort of lose their performance, don't they? It's sort of relying on Ivanov to have to make another stop, isn't he? Because he's going to be so much faster in this stint, surely. Especially if Vash has been jumped by Mancini, of course, on the softs. But Mancini will have to make another stop, almost certainly. What do you think, Felix? Do you think Vash has made the right strategy call here to go on the mediums so early?
Well, I think 12 laps on the mediums, we saw in Academy as well. It can be done. At the end, they start to drop off, but it's definitely not an impossible task for him to get to the end.
Certainly not going to help him being stuck behind Mancini, even as Mancini's probably going to have slightly worn tyres at this point. Well, Williams then leads out front until he comes into the pit stop now as well.
Yep.
So Michaels will retake the lead. Once again, going an extra lap then. No, he comes in too. So he's decided to converge with the Royal Blue strategy. And in comes Van den Eet too. So this is going to put Van Vukas, I believe, onto the back of Williams.
Williams is well clear of that already.
Yeah, exactly. So Lalu sets a purple middle sector on the medium, surprisingly. But Mancini sets the fastest lap of the race. 1:44.3. On his new soft tyres. He's only been on for 3 laps. It was really important for him to jump Thomas Vash, who's still right behind him on the mediums. Stephen Michaels has sort of emerged 2 seconds now behind Matthew Williams, so pitting at the same time. Or is that failing to update? Because actually on stream it says 9 seconds, so I think I'm wrong on that one.
Probably, yeah.
I think it's 2 seconds between Van Vukas and Michaels, so that was where it's quite close. So Van Vukas now on his second set of soft tyres. He's only been on them a lap. Do you think Ground Effect will do a switch to try and do a last-ditch bid for the win, or do you think Ground Effect will say Michaels is our best bet maybe and stick with him because he's trying to make his one stop less strategy work compared to Van Vukas?
if Van Vukas gets close to Michaels, I would assume they did it before already in the beginning of this race to switch.
No, they did,
positions,
yes. That beginning of the race, all that time ago, about 20 laps ago, yes. But here's Ivanov then, chasing Vash, and Vash on the mediums will not have a whole lot to defend with. Here comes Ivanov. He's going to have to stick out around the outside of Blanchimont. The sparks fly. He goes briefly off the track, but rejoins. He should be able to keep that one as he breaks up the inside into bus stop. But Vash is still there on the outside and clears. Just about lets the Netrx through. So that was a bit dicey there. But Ivanov back into the top 5 and now free to chase Mancini.
Yeah, losing time in the process though, even more. I think it's a tough race for Ivanov. I think the strategy might have worked if he didn't have as much traffic, and of course being stuck behind his 2 teammates for 2 laps.
But I can sort of understand it because Ivanov qualified sort of in the middle of the top 10, sort of in the middle of him and Van den Eet were sort of 6th and 7th, weren't they, on the grid or something like that. And so he sort of had to clear the cars in front and catch up to the lead pack. And so the way he thought to do that was to go quite early then onto a set of soft tyres after 6 laps. And then he's just consistently tried to run the softs as long as he can each stint. But you're right, he had to overtake too many cars to do that. And Spa, it is a place you can overtake on, but you can lose so much time stuck behind other cars. Sometimes it's a little bit better just to go run the mediums a bit longer, do a few less stops, and keep the track position if you don't necessarily have the best tyres by the end. Definitely looks like Williams has committed to doing another stop, having gone onto the soft tyres, as has Van Vukas and Mancini. So Michaels, I think, is the only one who's going to try and get to the end. And interestingly, a mistake by Williams because like he closed about a second there on the race leader. As Ivanov has another twitch behind Mancini. And Van Vukas sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:43, before setting a 1:44.1. And he's right behind Steven Michaels then, so I think Van Vukas is catching. And going to make a move fairly soon, but Ivanov also trailing Mancini, as we see on screen. And Petsidis comes into the pit lane. What I presume will be his final stop, with about 7 laps to go. 8 laps, sorry. But here comes Ivanov then. To the outside he goes. Pushed past DRS, employed to their maximum effect, and round the outside he goes, up into 4th place. A good move there by Ivanov. Set up well. And he's got, so 2 laps younger tyres then. So not a huge difference in him and Mancini, but he was able to make the move then. But he is 4 seconds now behind Van Vukas, so that might be why he was pushing so hard. Try and catch Michaels. But Ivanov will have to make another stop within a couple of laps though, but the problem is so will Van Vukas. So the big question here, Felix, is can Steven Michaels get the mediums to the end? And can he do 1 stop less than Michael Williams?
Well, I think he'll get them to the end. The question is...
Because him and Thomas Vash seem to be doing the same strategy then. And in fact, Michaels, I think, pitted a lap later than Vash, or did they pit on the same lap? Yeah. Pitted a lap later.
Right.
So really, all the soft tyre guys have decided, right, let's just do another stop and try and gain track position at the end, I guess. But it's going to come down to Michaels versus Williams. As Mancini goes off, and that's potentially going to let Thomas Vash through as well. But here comes Patsidis after making his stop, attacking Cat Panizio. He's stuck on the outside into bus stop, and that's Andreasen who's actually charging behind them at a rate of knots as well. So Patsidis needs to get a move on here. But I think Matthew Williams is going to have to make a move before the race is out, and I think that's why he's trying to push on the soft tyres, where he has to make his final stop. But I think Ivanov will probably be in first, as here we go. Ampetsidis comes over the hill and sparks fly out the back of the Super Venturi. But Nizio is vulnerable. Here comes Ampetsidis to the outside then. As they impact to this, what can the Greek driver do as they approach the braking zone on the outside? And he goes all the way around the outside of the Super Venturi. Actually, nicely done by the Netrex driver. Of course, we saw Ampatidis in action in the World Championship, replacing Lauren Kismakers, who was ill with COVID at Le Mans, and actually got a top 13 finish, which is not bad for his World Championship debut. And he's certainly carrying that form with him, improving just a little bit after a difficult start to the race. Ivanov using push to pass then to keep Mancini at me, as Mancini finds Vash right behind him, as we see on screen. Zadis, almost forgot about him, has set the fastest first sector of the race on his soft tyres, right behind Patrick Hanko in the battle for 14th. But Vash going to be right behind Mancini then. They go through La Source and downhill through the Ardennes forest, the trees lining the background, and you see that big hill in front, which lets you know Eau Rouge is coming. Rowdy on after it too. Up the hill they go, and Matarash has got a very, very good run here. The DRS opens wide, he pulls to the outside, and it's a very, very easy move. He's going to get in front right before they even get to the braking zone for Lecum. And here we go, the two ground effects. Lying astern, second and third. Van Vukas on the soft tyres, 5 laps old. Michaels on the mediums, 4 laps old. Van Vukas pushing like crazy because he knows there's a threat from Ivanov behind. Ivanov is going to be pitting first, so Van Vukas really doesn't want to get undercut here. I think that's what's happening. It's a matter of who pulls the trigger first. For the final stops. Well, Michaels tries in vain to keep Williams in sight, but he is still within 10 seconds, so once Williams pits, Michaels will, 11 seconds now, so Williams really pushing. Muzadis was able to overcome Hanko then. He's in 15th now, 14th rather, and not far behind Lianos. So Muzadis, Lianos are two Academy drivers, scrapping it out for 13th. Van Vukas continuing to close on Michaels. Could Van Vukas get his first podium in the Pro Championship? So nearly got it in Suzuka, of course. And Felix, how much would it mean to him to get it? Because, of course, still got to beat Ivanov, of course. But there's a great chance here for ground effect to get a 2-3, and that would be crucial points for them, for both their drivers, really. As here he goes, he's got the DRS. Surely Michaels is not going to fight this too hard. Up the inside goes Van Vukas. And he's still alongside. Oh, well managed there. And it looked like Michaels just about left enough space then. And fair driving by the pair of them. Van Vukas up to second then, but this will only be temporary. And Michaels actually lost a little bit of time to Williams, which is not ideal for him. Van Vukas now free to push in that clean air. And he will make the most of it. A crucial move then to keep Van Vukas in the fight for the podium.
Yeah, a bit more resistance from Michaels this time around, but still not a very hard defense by him. He knows, of course, losing time is going to hurt him even more, so he just wants to lose as little time possible. Vukas now, of course, pulling away already.
Yeah, and we see with 5 laps to go, it's really go time. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Ivanov dive into the pits fairly soon on his 6-lap-old tyres. He's only really got 5 laps left, so it's a matter of taking the landing here, isn't it? And making sure you don't pit too early because you don't want to blow them and run out of tyres at the end. But you also don't want to pit too late and run out of time to use those fresh tyres. The other thing is, we have seen some long soft tyre stints. There might be a few people trying to get to the end then. Do you think Van Vukas will try and get to the end? Or
well, I mean, he could try. It's not entirely unreasonable. The pace still seems to be in the car, so maybe another 5 laps.
I'd be amazed if Ivanov doesn't pit at the end of this lap. Because his times have really... actually, they've not dropped up that much. What was it? 44.8 on the last lap. So faster than everyone apart from Williams ahead of him. But it feels to me like a in-lap. Doing in-laps to sort of... He also might be waiting to see what Van Vukas does as well. But
yeah.
I don't think Ivanov... Can he really do like a 11 laps on the soft tire? It was done by Michaels earlier in the race. And Michaels sort of has gone the opposite strategy. He's gone soft and then stuck to the mediums. But hard to really say which way it's going to play out. I have a feeling that a lot of guys are just going to try and go to the end and see what happens here. And Van Vukas using push to pass. He's not given up on winning this race, it would seem. Or he's coming into the pits. Let's find out. All starting to converge in the mid-pack then. Van Vukas, will he dive into the pit lane in a few seconds as he negotiates the bus stop? The tyres a little bit past their bet. No, he's carrying on.
Yeah, and I think he's going to the end now. It doesn't make sense to do 3 laps.
So, will Ivanov carry on? Yes, he will. So I am amazed at that. I think Ivanov is going to be really vulnerable to Vash in the closing stages. That's why he's pushed to pull as big of a gap as he has. So it looks like we're not going to see any late pit stops then. At least not for the time being. Van den Eet, about a second behind Mancini, who's just behind Vash. So there's a close battle really for 5th place. Could become 4th if they close on Ivanov. Ivanov, 8 laps now. He's sort of matching his max stint length on the softs. Ivanov really needs these points for his championship. Top 4 would help him a great deal. Let's not forget, he is 6th in the championship on 51 points. About 3 behind his teammate Van den Eet. But 26 behind Jukka-Pekka Laulu in the lead. So he looks to really close on Laulu here. It's not as much as Williams, Van Vukas and Michaels ahead of him. Of course, Williams being the biggest threat in 12th on 30 points, having won last time out. Here we go then. Closing stage is approaching. And it's really a case of making sure you don't fatigue. Of course, the pro race, not quite the length of the World Championship race, but it's towards the end where mistakes often creep in, isn't it? It can so easily happen, and you can find yourself blowing a great result. But the drivers at the pro level, experience, they've had enough heartbreak in their lives, racing lives, I mean, of course. So they don't want to repeat that, and they know exactly how to keep themselves sharp as Van den Eet inexorably closes to the back of Mirko Mancini. Will he mount a late attack on the Royal Blue driver here? Because he's certainly got the tyres to do it. But again, 8 laps, so he's sort of same stint length really as Ivanov, who goes into his 9th lap on the soft tyres. So towards the end, Ivanov is going to be very, very slow indeed. Less he's become the tyre whisperer. He was actually able to match Michaels and Van Vukas ahead of him on that last lap. As here comes Van den Eet up the inside of Mancini. And a pretty straightforward move there. Mancini sort of just stayed where he was and didn't try and defend too hard. Really hoping, I think, Mancini, of course, on even older tyres, 11 laps on those softs. So I think Mancini's going to be in real trouble before we get to the end. Laulu not far behind now. He's on 2 lap younger soft tyres. So I think Laulu will be catching him and looking to make a move potentially on the final lap. We'll see. Mancini's got his own title aspirations to think about. But Williams extending the gap up front. And Michaels and Van Vukas still about a second apart. But Hanko sets the fastest lap of the race, down in 15th. I believe he's just pit, yes, for another set of soft tyres 2 laps ago. 1:43.2 by Hanko. But he's 25 seconds down on Mercedes, so Hanko really out of the fight. Only this lap and 1 more to go then. And what an excellent drive it's been by Matthew Williams, really. Michaels kept him honest in the first stint, really, but Williams really was able to just... It was punch and counter punch. He was always able to roll with the punches and react to what those behind were doing. And the Brit not really putting a foot wrong.
Definitely, he's basically been flawless this race. Really showing his pace. And yeah, looking to get another win here.
It's a shame. We were hoping for that photo finish in Academy, and we very nearly got it with Monia charging at the end. And it seems like we get promoted to the pro race, and we get a quite static kind of ending. Although, to be fair, Le Mans was a little bit similar, with the Royal Blues really controlling the race quite early on. And not really, once Matthew Williams got into the lead, it was really kind of, he pulled away, basically. But Van der Neat has not given up on trying to catch Vatch either. Catch Vatch. That's why I'm trying to rhyme everything today. But Vatch, 10 laps on the mediums, Van der Neat 9 laps on the softs. So the softs will really stop giving the best of their tyre life here. With Mancini trying to hold on a second down. And it's 4 seconds the gap between himself and Lalu. Michael's meanwhile keeping Van Vukas very, very honest. Van Vukas goes into his 10th lap now on the soft tyres. So it feels like Michael's... will he mount a late attack, or do you think he'll settle for third here?
Pace-wise, it's not a lot faster than he's been, so let's have a look at this lap. Maybe the tyres really dropped off for Van Vukas
Ivanov,
now.
the fastest of the three, actually. On the oldest tyres, too. 145.3 to... And here we go. 145.8 by Van Vukas, 145.4 by Michaels, 145.3 by Ivanov, but he's only a tenth faster there, so I don't think Ivanov can quite... He's done well to get to the top 4. I don't think he can really squeeze onto the podium here. I think rFactor got it locked out. It's a matter of who finishes in which position then. But we're on the final lap now, of course. A big lead by Matthew Williams. And he's consolidating it very, very well indeed. But everyone really taking a big risk in this final stint on the softs. I'm amazed that they've all been able to keep it on track, because it must be so difficult to keep the softs alive this late in the race. How wide Michaels is going. He attempts to catch up to the back of Van Vukas, but he's running out of opportunities, really. And Matthew Williams, a few corners now separate him from his second victory in a row. It's been a miraculous, triumphant comeback for the Royal Blue driver. Nothing really has been in his way. Van Vukas, he will rue, really, having to lose that pole position, but I think Williams would probably have had the measure of him either way. But anyway, here he comes through the bus stop chicane in between the two NetRX cars of Chat Spentelis and Smith. But Matthew Williams, victory is his at Spa-Francorchamps as he wins the Pro Championship Belgian Grand Prix in Formula Sim Racing. Here come the two ground effects, second and third. Can Michaels do a late dive? He's not close enough. Ground effect will finish second and third. The first podium for Van Vukas in the Pro Series. Ahead of his teammate Stephen Michaels, who takes his first podium of the season. Ivanov finishes fourth. Vash takes his first finish of the season in fifth. Ahead of Danny Van der Neat, will be slightly disappointed down in sixth. But here we go. And Petsidis, a late charge on Morville. He goes around the outside of the bus stop and loses it. Oh my goodness me. The battle for ninth really heating up, and Morville just holds on by the skin of his teeth. The softs, very, very worn. Morville had been on them 11 laps. Very, very high. But there we go. They ran out the top 10 then. Morville and Ampatsidis. Nisio will finish a distant 11th ahead of Andreasen and Lianos. But Williams celebrates, and rightly so, because that's 2 in a row for him. 60 points then, and that's going to put him well up there in the top 5 or 6 of the championship. And we could see being a real factor in the late phase of this year's Pro Championship. But wow, what a victory. Will we see donuts? Maybe he's just stopping. He's had enough.
He's out of fuel.
There we go. Shows what I know. But he looks, he's wiggling. He would do donuts if he had a little bit left of fuel left. But great drive by Matthew Williams. Great drive by ground effect as well by Van Vukas and Michaels. And Vash as well, hanging on to that 5th position. So, confirmation then of the final results. Matthew Williams wins for Royal Blue Racing, his 2nd win in a row. Ahead of Kostas Van Vukas and Stephen Michaels take their first podiums of the season. Ahead of Victor Ivanov, just missed out in 4th position, 2 seconds down on them. Then it's Thomas Vash in 5th. Danny Van der Neat 6th. Mirko Mancini 7th. Jukka-Pekka Lailu, I believe, will hold on to the championship lead. We'll get full confirmation of that in a few minutes. time, but he takes 8th ahead of Kevin Morville, who just held on from Vasily Ampatsidis at the end. A brave assault. Close but no cigar for Ampatsidis. Cat Panizio finishes 11th for Super Venturi, ahead of Rasmus Andreasen in 12th. Gianni Lianos takes 13th ahead of Stavros Musadis. So Lianos triumphing ahead of Musadis. Patrick Hanko 15th ahead of George Tatsapantelis, Harry Smith, and then our retirements: Matt Tucson, Cass Rietveld, Cosmo Pasciuto, and Stoyan Barbakov, of course, retiring very early on. So let's have a brief look then at the driver standings and how they're affected by all of that action in the Ardennes forests.
1 second.
But certainly, they will be affected, that's for sure. And Matthew Williams will be going well up the standings. I imagine Victor Ivanov in 4th will have gained a lot of points too. Okay, let's check them out then. It is still Lally leading then on 90 points, but only at 18 ahead of Mirko Mancini. Van der Neet, equal with Ivanov in 3rd, the 2 Netrex cars. Then is Rietveld dropping down to 5th after his 2nd retirement in a row. Pasciuto in 6th ahead of Matthew Williams, moves up to 7th. Not quite the top 6, but only 2 points away from his teammate Pasciuto, who retired today. So Williams having a great run of form. Ampatsidis in 8th ahead of Vash. And then the absent Jan Crankrist, of course, driving for Super Venturi in the World Championship, but still holding on to 10th there. But yeah, certainly heating up then. Lalu still got a commanding lead then. Royal Blue really taking control.
Yeah, they definitely are. And Netrex, even though they put up the heat with the strategy today, still have a bit of work to do.
Yeah, certainly. But Ivanov doing well to get that 4th place. And there's a small shout out for Vash getting his best result this season, getting a few points on the board, getting himself back into the top 10 then. But that's it, really, from Spa-Francorchamps today. Any final thoughts before we look forward, of course, to round 7? But of course, we thank, of course, our partners VCO, who are helping us broadcast this, along with Mesiti Esports Clothing, SimLab, and 3D Wrap, of course, we saw that ad from earlier. But 26th of June, the mystery race. We still don't know what it will be, but we will know after the World Championship race, which is coming very soon, isn't it, Felix?
Yeah, it will be in roughly 45 minutes time, obviously on our YouTube channel and also on the VCO Twitch channel, so make sure you tune in for that. Obviously WC giving even more action, a longer race even, so with the different strategies that we've seen during Academy, during Pro, I think it's going to be even more interesting for the World Championship race, but we might to judge on beforehand. You will only find out if you tune in to watch it.
Well, I will have the privilege of doing both Academy and Pro, and then also doing the highlights for the World Championship after. So if you missed the stream, feel free to check out those as well. So it's big duty. I'm having a big commentary weekend after doing 8 hours of Bud yesterday as well. So yeah, certainly my voice needs a rest now, and I also need dinner. But thanks for joining me, Felix. Thanks to you too, of course, for watching. But we'll be back for the next round of the Pro Championship on the 26th of June. But Royal Blue take control. Lalu still leads the championship, but it's Matthew Williams who takes the win today from Van Vukas and Michaels. So all to play for, 4 rounds to go, and it's anyone's guess who's really going to take the Pro Championship this season in FSR. Thanks for watching.